Our acknowledgement to country and prayer of council will be read by the Reverend Manja Jacko from Liverpool South Anglican Church. If you could all be upstanding. That will be followed by the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who come across the seas, we've boundless plates to share. With courage, let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, everybody. If you could be seated. We've got a full house tonight, so there's no apologies. Do we have any condolences? Confirmation of the previous meeting minutes?
Move it away. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion? I'll put it. Those in favour? Those against? The carried. Any declarations of interest?
I have one, Madam Mayor.
Yes,
COMO1 Corporate Sponsorship Program.
What one, sorry?
COMO1.
Thank you. Yep.
Thomas Hassel Anglican Care advertises in the publication Your Liverpool that I produce, and I will not be voting and I'll leave the room.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a conflict in the same item. It is non-pecuniary and non-significant. I also work for a Headspace Centre, not Liverpool, and it's separately funded, so non-pecuniary.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hull, you had your hand up.
Sorry, my usual one. Egro 04 Warwick Farm.
Sorry, what was it? Egro.
Egro, I think
Yep.
it's EGRO, yes.
Yep, 4.
04. And non-pecuniary, non-significant, but I have family living in the area.
Okay. You've all got your forms, have you, from George?
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Tina?
I also
Councillor?
have something to declare, declaration of interest, just for COM 01, Thomas Hassel Anglican College. My children attend that school. I'll be voting. It's non-pecuniary, non-significant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. Any further ones? All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a representation of Mr Gary Portelli. He wishes to address Council on EGRO 04. Mr Portelli? Agenda is on page, the
Madam
recommendation.
Mayor, could I just ask a question about the presentations from the public forum?
Not in this forum, thank you, councillor. We have an agenda. The next item is on page 77.
I have a
The-
motion.
You have a motion?
I have a motion.
What, an urgency motion?
No,
A motion. Oh, a motion,
I
sorry.
have a motion.
Go ahead, councillor, I apologise.
in regards to EGRO 01, same as 1 and 2, but with a new number 3,
Yep.
which is council proceed with plans for a multi-storey car park at the site.
Okay. Thank you. You have a seconder for your motion?
I will second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. You wish to speak to your motion, councillor?
I do. This site was purchased a number of years ago. We've had a number of reports. It's come to the point now where we need to make a decision. Either we go with the ring road or we do something with it. I'm of the based on what the report says here. If we were to open up Bathurst Street, we would still require some limited access to Perry Street, which defeats the purpose, intended purpose of purchasing it. We own it. We need car parking. Let's build car parking. Let's just make a decision tonight and get on with it.
Thank you. Any speakers against the motion? And would the seconder like to... Yes?
Can I just ask, and I support doing something, which is great, has anyone investigated to see whether a car park will actually work when you're talking multi-storey with ramps up, down and everything else?
We've only done very initial investigations. We do believe we could get about 200 spaces on that site, but I'm not going to put hand on the heart and guarantee that at this point. It's very initial investigations.
All right, and as part of the motion for the investigation or to do it, will we be looking at going down or up?
The 200 would be just up to the height of the strata that we have purchased. That doesn't mean we can't go down, but what I've looked at the moment is the cheaper option, which is to simply go up.
So instead of, and this is probably going to form part of the, when you come back to us, can we look at the other option as well where we do go down and we actually get a benefit from the air instead of it just being car parking, so we get a return for the ratepayers, commercial?
More than happy to take that on board as part of the investigation.
Thank you. You're happy with that, mover? With that?
Can I keep going for a sec?
Oh, yes, certainly. You've got a motion, have you, councillor?
No, as in
I
a
have.
couple more questions.
Hold on to councillor Hull. You have a further question?
Yep.
Yes, what is it?
And I'm going to raise the issue I raised in the briefing session, and I understand things changed over a couple of years from when we bought this, but the advice we received when we spent a lot of money in buying this is that it would work. What's changed? Obviously, there's more development, there's more traffic, I understand that. But had we have continued on with the plans we did 3 years ago, or 4 years ago when we bought it, because everything was leading towards, yes, this can work, and now it can't. Why?
I think one of the key aspects, and Mr Moore, correct me if I'm giving misinformation, is the RMS's intention to widen Terminus Street changes the functioning of Bathurst and Pirie.
But that's just a road, extra couple of lanes. How does that change a road going through to those 3 lanes?
Yep, through you CEO. The uncertainty is really what that creates for now. So RMS are not saying absolutely it can't work, the Bathurst Street extension, but they're certainly not saying it does work at this point. And it seems to us that the only basis upon which it will work in the longer term is with Pirie Street remaining open, albeit in a slightly narrowed format. So for now, though, we haven't got RMS's endorsement of Bathurst Street extension because they haven't been able to settle on exactly how they would widen Terminus Street and when they would widen it, frankly, at this point of Terminus Street, at the point where the Bathurst Street extension would intersect with it.
Can I just ask the mover to put a time frame on whatever he just put forward, please?
Absolutely.
would be feasible? I'll ask the CEO what a feasible timeframe would be to come back.
To come back to council with plans for it.
And I asked that because a motion that was moved a couple of meetings ago was if there aren't plans in place, we're switching off these meters.
Yes.
And I look forward to that day when we switch them
Well,
off.
that's December, so why don't I promise to get this back to you by November, because that will give you an informed decision to make in December.
I don't think that'll then satisfy the motion of turning off the meters.
Well, Councillor, with respect, that's a previous motion
Yeah, but I'm just trying to...
and it is being dealt with separately. So please, could you just focus on the current motion?
I am, Mayor, and with all respect also, there's a time frame in place that the meters go off, and if it's just a little diagram that says we can put a car park there, I expect those meters to be turned off.
Well, we'll determine that at the time it's determined, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Are you still going to, you speaking against the motion, or have you finished your questions? Okay, Councillor
I
Hall.
have a question.
Hold on a moment. Councillor Hall,
I actually have a foreshadowed motion.
what is just the notion of your motion? Pardon the pun.
I have 1, 2 and 3 as is.
Yep.
And then add 4, 5 and 6.
Okay, well, hold that thought. Okay, is any speakers, the seconder would like to speak to the motion?
Look, I think given the importance of parking on every public forum and every discussion that I enter into with residents, I think finding every opportunity where we can increase parking, particularly in the CBD, is a good thing. And given the fact that RMS doesn't seem to have much of a time frame in terms of the movement of it, I think this is the best way forward in relation to this matter.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, you had a question.
I'll wait until Councillor Hull explains his foreshadow motion.
Okay, well, he'll have to wait until the other motion's moved and put and etc. Any opposition? Hold on a moment, Councillor. Any opposition to Councillor Haggerty's motion that wishes to speak?
I just have a question, thank you, Madam
Yes,
Mayor.
Councillor Sheldon.
Yes, question in relation to paragraph 2 of the motion as it stands. Just for the benefit of the meeting, through you two, I think it's Mr Waif, where he talks about the partial rather than full road closure of Perry Street between Terminus Street and Macquarie Street. Could you just elaborate as to which part, how much of Perry Street between Terminus Street and Macquarie Street will be the subject of a partial closure?
Ms Rueff, can you answer that question, please?
Yes, through you, CEO. The partial arrangement we're thinking of is to permit, at the moment, Perry Street is 5 lanes, if you like. The partial closure we're thinking of at this stage is about 2 lanes through the road reservation. That can occur if you take out the right turn. At the moment, you've got 2 lanes that turn right. If you accommodate that 2 lanes at the Butter Street extension, then you can reduce it by the 2 lanes. The northbound or the southbound traffic, you can also reduce that. At the moment, we've got 2 lanes, which that can also be reduced to 1, and you'll be left with 2 lanes at the maximum. But the point, though, is that that is part of the investigation we're doing at the moment, and subject to the 6-lane configuration, that arrangement could change.
And one more, if I may, thank you, Madam Mayor. It may not be exactly your area, but the implications of that for a public car park to be constructed there would be fairly severe, is that right?
The principle of car parking, we're doing investigations at the moment. Most city centres are trying to put car parks away from their city centres. That would just be my general comment, but I'm aware that from time to time, residents also ask for additional car parking in the city centre.
Thank you. Councillor Hall, you wish to speak against the motion?
Yes, I do,
go
Madam
ahead.
Mayor. As a councillor, I've been around here for 10 years now, and we've looked at this issue for many years. Previously, we looked at closing Peary Street, and in fact, I believe council has purchased the the area above that as well for some commercial development, which we previously discussed. The point is, Liverpool, particularly that end, is being developed at a very, very rapid rate. As you know, I'm on the Greater Sydney West Planning Panel, and I have received information on proposals for that particular site, which I will be going to a meeting tomorrow on that very site. Putting a car parking station there, in my humble opinion, will be very, very detrimental to any future traffic flows within that area. What I think we need to do is look at the whole of Liverpool, particularly because it's the development is rapidly increasing, and that is going to have a major effect on the traffic flow in and around that area. The current dogleg that we've been trying to get rid of that for a long, long time. Now, the RMS's objection for not having that there is because they say you can't easily put two traffic lights together. That is a whole load of rubbish. You can. In our modern day and age, if you can't get a computer to program those traffic lights to ensure that you've got a continuous flow of traffic going, there is something desperately wrong, and I'm quite happy to advise them as to how to do that, being a previous programmer. The point is, if we were to build that car park there, that is going to cost a lot of money that we once commit to it, you can't easily undo it, and you are going to set in concrete the traffic flow in and around that area for the foreseeable future. So I would oppose that.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers for the motion?
Can we actually hear the foreshadowed so we can make an informed decision on what we're voting on?
Well, the foreshadowed is supposed to be heard technically after the motion is defeated or supported, but I'm happy to indulge you, Councillor. What is your point 4 and 5, Councillor?
Sorry, I've just put that up, but it is. 4, write to the RMS requesting a date Council can expect the RMS to finalise the 6-lane road configuration and funding for the road reservation to be confirmed. 5, delegate the CEO to engage a local Liverpool traffic modeller to prepare a new traffic study on the whole of the CBD traffic flows in consideration of current and projected needs of the city, and present the results to a councillor briefing meeting by November 2019.
Okay, thank you. Does the mover of the motion wish to exercise his right of reply? Councillor Haggerty.
Yep.
That motion. I do. A couple of points. One of the biggest complaints about Liverpool is lack of parking. As a council, we've listened and we've acted. We've got I think we've got a motion up today about rezoning a part of Collingwood Park. We've already acted in Woodward Park. There's more parking there to come. We've got a parking study coming in a few months, I understand. I hope so. Here is another opportunity to listen to the residents and act on parking. Simple physics. You have a look at the area we're talking about with the Bathurst Street extension. You have a look at the area with Perry Street. The area in Perry Street is much bigger. You simply can't fit the same amount of cars in a smaller space. It's physically not possible. I do understand, I appreciate that there were problems with that dogleg. I think it's working a lot better now since the timing on the lights have changed. I drive through there a few times a week. It's working quite well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let's use that piece of land, turn it into some car parking. Let's listen to the residents and let's get on with it. Now, I'm aware of the proposal that Councillor Hall is talking about. Now, if you think that through, that proposal is going to need vehicular access. Cars are going to need to come in and out of there. It's going to be a lot safer for cars to come in and out of there if the the Bathurst Street side is occupied by slow traffic using it as a car park rather than people, whipping through there to get to Terminus Street. So I think just for safety, it's probably better to have it as a car park. And you made the point about programming traffic lights. I'll make the point again. We've reprogrammed the traffic lights around that Perry Street dogleg and it's working quite well.
Thank you. We've had the right of reply. No, Councillor, the right of reply has been given, so it is now time to actually vote. Those in favour of Councillor Haggerty and seconded by Councillor Caliender's motion, please raise your hands. The motion is carried. The next item is on page 87.
Can I ask a question, Mayor, please?
Certainly, Councillor.
And I apologise for not putting this one on notice. It might have helped. Camden Valley Way leading to Bonera Road westbound. In front of the place of worship, there's a deceleration lane, which then leads into the place of worship. Did we ever think or consider of extending the road reserve so that there is 3 lanes along? I know it's an RMS road, but did we ever enter into discussions with them to have a longer left turn lane into Benira Road, given Benira Road is now open, there's a lot of traffic there, and currently with the new road, which is fantastic, the traffic is back now to the M5, Bunnings. So is this an opportunity now, as part of this, to consider that?
We'll have to take that on notice, because I need to go into the history of it there, but I don't see why we can't have a look at that as part of the plans.
So do you want something there that you look at that before you send it, or are we doing this now, we're supporting it in principle? So is something coming back to us before we send it to the Gateway?
That's right.
Oh, no, you're forwarding it to Gateway.
This is the intention to send it to Gateway, but it will return to you after it's gone through the Gateway process.
But can we be painful and maybe delay it before we do send it to Gateway and look at that, so we're sending one thing to Gateway instead of it coming backwards and forwards? I do apologise that it was late notice, but it only comes up when you look at these things.
Yes, of course, Councillor, if you choose to delay it, of course you can delay it. That's for you to determine. I don't see why we can't move through this process and then go back to Department of DPIE and discuss it further once we've had those discussions with RMS, though I don't think that would be inconsistent with any of their planning process.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Councillor?
Given it's a minor amendment that we all appear to be in agreement with, can we delegate the mayor, or well, we can't delegate the mayor, but
No.
can we get someone else to make this decision a bit more efficiently between council meetings, if that's what's being proposed?
No, I'm not asking you to change anything, but before
It's investigation,
before
yeah.
you do send it to Gateway, have a look at, is it possible, can it happen? If it can, I'd rather send one document to Gateway once than it go, come back, go. But yeah, if you can look into that, and if it can happen, I'll leave that to your call.
So if you're willing to then make the recommendation that you support in principle pending pending review of the possibility of the extension of the road, just so it's not delayed by coming back to another council meeting. Yeah.
Okay, have we got a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Sheldon. Any opposition? Yes, Councillor Hull?
Question, I wonder...
Yep, sure.
Sorry, I left it a bit late, but I wonder if you'd be inclined to add something to that motion. Too late?
No, not yet.
I would like to add a 3 between 2 and... Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3. I would like to add notes the need to undertake a revised stormwater drainage plan to minimise the harmful and negative effects of open drains and channel systems. Can we incorporate that, as it's a drainage channel?
You can. It's not subject to this planning proposal, but of course you can add that in, and then that becomes a resolution that we would act upon.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody's clear.
Yeah, I'm happy with it too, thank you.
I'd just like to point out that Council Hadid has left the room because he believes he has a pecuniary interest in this matter. Would those who would like to vote for this please raise your hands? So it's unanimous. Councillor Blute, are you voting? Yes, good, thank you. Can we get Councillor Hadid back in the room, please? So for the typists, it was everybody. All right, the next item is on page 102.
Happy to move that way with an amendment.
Second.
Hold on, Councillor, I'm just getting there. So what is your motion, Councillor?
It's as per the book,
Yep.
with a few words added in.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, subject to Gateway determination and council investigation of opportunities to utilise demountable stacked multi-storey parking construction, further to undertaking public exhibition and community consultation in accordance with the conditions of the Gateway determination.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder for your motion? Thank you, Councillor Hall.
Question?
Yes, certainly.
Is this proposal ready to go?
Yes.
And question as well, if I
Yes,
may.
Councillor.
This is a not a spot rezoning as the Minister for Planning recently referred to, but a Schedule 1 amendment. Is that the correct way to categorise it?
Apparently it is, Councillor. Is there any opposition?
I have a question.
Yes, certainly. What's your
Haven't we previously investigated snacked parking and found it uneconomical?
We investigated a car stacking system, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor, is different from the proposal that you're looking at, which is multi-purpose flexible car parking, where you're able to demount it very quickly if required. Am I correct, Councillor? I think I picked that up.
Absolutely, Madam CEO. What it is that the last time that was investigated by a council was investigated by a person who doesn't do this sort of operation. And what I'm asking for is that council now seeks out those people who do this particular form of constructions and provide the information back to council and to consider it as a way.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to take you as actually moving and speaking to your motion.
I have...
Wait a minute. Any opposition to this motion? Councillor, you have a question?
One further question. Happy to look into it. Happy to speak to experts. Are there experts that are, like, do we have domestic experts on this? I don't want to fly someone out from China or Japan to do it at ratepayers' expense.
I'd have to take that on notice. I do remember last time we investigated it, there's no one who's using this in public car parks at this point in time, so we would probably have to consult an international expert, but that doesn't mean I'd fly them out. That means we could consult them in situ.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question, Madam Mayor. Aren't we already investigating trackless trams from overseas, Madam Mayor? It is not something which is outside the council's capabilities to be able to.
I don't think that wasn't the question, Councillor Rhodes.
The question was, aren't we? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. Good try. Okay, now we're just moving on. We don't need to answer that. Okay, is there any opposition? I'm going to put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Councillor Hitchity, are you voting? Yeah. For? Okay, that was unanimous for the typist. The next one's on page 109.
I'm happy to move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ayard. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Caliander. Is there any opposition?
Perhaps.
Just some clarification.
Well, we've got a couple of questions brewing. So, Councillor Haggerty, what's your question?
I think, where are we? Couple down somewhere. There's a local strategic planning statement somewhere in this agenda. How does this, I guess, spot align with the overarching direction we are going? I guess my concern with this is that it needs to fit into the entire puzzle here in that precinct. And what I don't want to do is, if we're going down a direction of perhaps a mix of uses in that precinct, I don't want a development that is of such a scale that it crowds out the rest of that area. So let's say that area is only capable of, and I'm just plucking numbers out of my head, 1,000 dwellings. I don't think it's fair to the rest of the residents in that precinct if a development goes ahead that's got 500, 600, 700. So that one site practically takes up 60, 70% of the possible dwellings there. So I think that was a question.
It sounded like one, sort of.
Councillor, I think that's a matter for you to determine when the planning proposal comes to council in the next month. Nothing that we've reported on in terms of a status update and on the actions we're taking is inconsistent with the direction that councillors have given us, noting you haven't adopted it yet, but councillors has given us through briefing sessions and conversations in relation to the LSPS and Warwick Farm. So not to put aside in any way what you're saying, but that would have to be dealt with at the time of the planning proposal.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I congratulate Councillor Haggerty for moving from just a medical precinct to now a mix of uses in that area. I just want to really congratulate him for coming on board.
Thank you for that kindness, Councillor. Councillor Rhodes, did you have a question?
No, I'll forget it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Councillor Hull.
Just a question. I note that in the previous meeting there are some issues that need to be resolved, and one of those is speaking with the residents of the Warwick Farm area. Any idea of when that is going to happen?
I don't have the exact dates on me, but as per the resolution, it's planned for the first couple of weeks of July. I'll get back to councillors with the exact dates.
All right, any opposition? I'll put it. Those in favour? Those against? Declare it carried unanimously for the typist. Next item's on page 115.
Move that way.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, do you wish to speak to your motion, councillor? All good? That's your speech? Okay, any opposition?
Sure, we don't want to drop option 4.
I just moved the whole lot, given the staff prepared, did all this work, put it there, put it out in the community, and let's see what we come back with. It's only one extra piece of paper.
Okay. Any opposition to the motion? I'll put it. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Next item is on page 127.
Move that way with just one amendment.
What is your motion, councillor?
Number 1, endorse in the word in principle the river connections, Lighthorse Park Precinct improvement program as the recommended project for submission under the second round of application under the Western Parkland City Liverpool Fund. And number 2, noting the design suggestions outlined in the May Strategic Planning Panel meeting, Thursday the 20th of May, are to be included into the design and submissions.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Hahn. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Rhodes, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'm appreciative of all the work that Council has put into this particular submission. It was very late in the piece that councillors on Thursday the 20th of May had the opportunity to put forward their ideas, and there was a great many ideas that were put forward at that particular point.
Yes,
I don't think that's factually correct. I think we've had a number of years to put input into it. Yeah.
Yes, there has been. I will uphold your point of order, councillor. Councillor Rhodes.
Okay, I'll rephrase that. The last opportunity given to council was held on Thursday the 20th of May, when there were a great many of suggestions that came forward that hadn't been given the opportunity despite the number of years that this has been on the books. And I'm very appreciative that the councillors did make those submissions, and I would be very happy if they would be considered by council in the matter that the motion so recommends.
Thank you, councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak? No. Any opposition?
I have a suggestion.
Yes, councillor.
If Councillor Rhodes is willing to accept it. Just on number 2, at the end, perhaps we could have something, pending. I guess my concern here is if one of the suggestions is unsafe architecturally or engineering-wise, unsafe or dangerous or
It doesn't work out.
No, I don't accept that into the motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Do you wish to speak against the motion, councillor Haggerty?
Just the wording are to be included. If someone wanted a black bridge and someone wanted a white bridge, are we going to end up with it?
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes, councillor.
Madam Mayor, I believe that Councillor Haggerty is being intentionally aggravating the situation. It's not a matter of black or white bridges, and he knows that it isn't.
Thank you, councillor. That is not a point of order. I think you're getting into a discussion here. A point of order means that something has happened that needs a ruling on, and I don't believe that he is at fault at this point. Please continue.
All I was trying to suggest was that if there are suggestions that are, the complete opposite of each other, it's just the wording there are to be. So if there was more sort of suggestive language there, that, if you've got 2 contradictory suggestions, how do we incorporate them? Because it's around the legality of the wording. So if all suggestions are to be included, what if those suggestions are contradictory?
Madam Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, councillor.
Is the mover amenable to, rather than phrasing it are to be included, phrasing it are to be considered in the design and submission?
Yeah, it's up to the mover to accept that.
Madam Mayor, when we've done this in the past, the council considers it and then considers it out. I think that it is reflective of to get input from councillors, they've got to be encouraged to put that input in. I don't think that there is anything that was suggested at at the actual meeting that was structurally unsound. Was a difference between white or black bridges. I'm talking about actual suggestions that were made at that meeting. They were all good suggestions, and they were suggestions that should be considered and included in the design and in the submission.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I'll have that as you speaking almost twice to your emotions, so I think you better shush now. I just have a question to ask the CEO. Unfortunately, I was ill that day. Is there anything in the designs and suggestions as put forward that could cause a conflict?
Look, I'd have to some extent take that on notice. This particular motion speaks to us putting in to get our final release of funding from the state and federal government to go and do the detailed design work. Okay. So it's certainly not the final. It's not the final end. It's going there saying we have Lighthorse Park, we've got the bridge, we want the overpass to the railway station, but there needs to be still significant amount of work that is done on that, and this funding is intended to do the detailed design work on it. So I don't think, certainly in relation to the grant, there's absolutely no issue with anything in this application, but I can't hand on heart say that everything that was brought up is deliverable because I haven't done the scoping yet. Okay, but it's early days from what you're saying.
Yes, okay then, thank you for that. Councillor Hall.
Question then, Madam Mayor.
Hold on, Councillor Shelton. Councillor Hall beat you to the light.
Sorry, Councillor Shelton. Just a point of view, I would suggest that the council staff are competent in working out what is and is not able to be done in terms of safety. I would regard that council staff has a much greater grasp of what needs to be done than what councillors do, and therefore I don't believe we should be arguing that point about whether it's safe or not. I would suggest that council staff would know whether it's safe or not.
Thank you. Councillor Shelton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The question was in relation to paragraph 2. Can you actually say that design features are to be included if we've just heard from the CEO that scoping work has to be carried out first before we know whether we can include those design features?
That's right. Thank you. Any other speakers against the motion?
I was hoping for an answer.
Oh, you want an answer, do you? You don't want to make a statement and just wait. Okay, Councillor, I'll ask the CEO for a response.
The position we're in at the moment is that we've done some work on all of these projects at various levels of planning outcomes. So none of it is fixed in stone at this point in time. That anything can be changed, ideally. What we would be doing would be going for funding to do that detailed design work and planning. So, for instance, and I'm trying to think of an example that you're not going to think is facetious. So suppose instead of a proposal for a community centre in Lighthorse Park, councillors proposed instead to make that a fully commercial facility. There's nothing that is in this, there's nothing in the grant application to our city deal funding that precludes us making those type of changes. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Well, the issue still is, if, as you said, anything can be changed, then how do we stand moving a motion right now that says that certain items are to be included?
As I said, I haven't scoped them all out, so I can't. There may be something that is simply unfeasible.
Can I make an alteration to my motion, please?
Yes, Councillor, giving you the motion.
Thank you. Noting design suggestions outlined in the May Strategic Planning meeting Thursday the 20th of May are to be considered into the design and submission.
That's fine. Thank you so much, Councillor. All right. Any other speakers? I'm going to put it, those in favour, those against, declare it unanimous. Thank you. Next item's on page 131.
Move that one.
Couple of questions.
Hold on, Councillor Shelton's moved. You got a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Yes, Councillor Chair.
Thank you for the extra information received this afternoon from Mr. Nadan, or Vish, if I can, or Mr. Nadan, sorry. In relation to the last meeting's quarterly review, and I now note, and no, I'm not punching holes in a budget as suggested by a fellow councillor in the last meeting. I've brought some humble pie here just in case I need it, but there was money coming in from the intermodal company in relation to rates that we put in the quarterly review for March. So 2 months ago, we said that money's pretty much there. Given now that we're in pretty much the end of June, have we received the money that we put in March's budget?
It will please you to know, councillors, seeing as you removed it from the budget, that no, it is still delayed. In my meeting with the Moorebank Intermodal Company, they assured me that it is coming, but it's delayed in Canberra at this point in time. So you have no need to eat humble pie. You can enjoy the sweetness.
So is that in writing? They've given it to us, so we're actually getting this money, or it's not?
No, and I've asked for it in writing.
Okay. So are we not going to include that in anything until?
Not in, following the council meeting and the direction of councillors. No, not till I get it in writing.
It's been excluded, councillor.
Yep, I have, and I note that, and that's why there's a different bottom line at the moment, which will hopefully improve when it comes through. Through you, CEO, if I can, or you can answer the question through to Mr. Nadan. Does council have the option to report either cash or accrual, or does it need to be accrual?
Mr. Nadan, I'll hand that over to an accountant.
Through the CEO, the Code of Accounting Practice from the Office of Local Government and the accounting standards actually require us to prepare our accounts on an accrual basis, not cash basis.
And what are the parameters to report accrual? So is it just a phone call from, and we'll use Mick for example, saying that we're going to pay you, or is it? I mean, obviously there's got to be then parameters to say that the money's coming in before you can say that yes, it is. So is someone giving council a call and saying, listen, I'm going to give you a $2 million grant? Is that enough for you to accrual or to report on that basis?
So the CEO again. There are actually 3 basic tests that we need to apply. Number 1, we need to demonstrate that it is receivable. Obviously, I confirmation that will satisfy the test. The second one is measurable. We need to be able to determine in exact dollars how much it is. And the third one is actually relates to this financial year. So if it passes the 3 tests, you can accrue it.
So, sorry to be painful here. How did the Moorebank one pass those 3 tests when you mentioned the word exact?
So the CEO again, the financial year ends 30th of June, but we are still working on the financial accounts till September. So if we get something in writing by that date, and we know how much it is, and it relates to this financial year, we will accrue it.
All right, so if we get a letter from the MIC saying on the, and I'm picking dates here, on the 30th of September, we're paying you exactly $1.2 million, we then accrue it. If we get a letter from them saying on the 30th of September, we're going to pay you something, but we need to check a few more things, we can't accrue it.
To the CEO, what we have said is in our proposal that we will we'll charge them rate equivalent. So that's, we know what the number is, and we will accrue that. As long as we have the confirmation that, yes.
Answer your question, councillor? Thank you. Yes, councillor Hagley.
One of the other assumptions in there was that the financial assistance, or 50% of the financial assistance grants would be received prior to June 30. Have they come in?
We have actually received that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Federal ScoMo miracles.
I always I think the fact they call them fag grants always makes me laugh. Yes, councillor Howard. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, in regards to this one, I'm happy to receive a note, but just with G, is it possible for me to add something to that at this point in time?
It's been moved and seconded. It depends whether the mover and seconder will be happy with that. So it depends on what it is.
So what I wanted to add was, so I noticed there was $5 million in that fund, which is quite a fair bit of money. I was hoping that we could identify roundabouts and islands that could have plants on them. So just, the low kind of crawler style ones. Sometimes they're just plain green, sometimes they're colourful. I was hoping that they could be identified and that we could have some greenery planted on them.
Mayor, it may help council, but I'm sure there's a motion on the books which I moved many moons ago that we have a roundabout renewal program, which no one's probably looked at, but I think there is one that may cover that.
I think you're right there, councillor.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask, in relation to that, I understand that maybe about 6 to 12 months ago, the RMS updated their standards in relation to the height of plants and shrubs and things at roundabouts, and we're in the process of renewing some of those to get in line with those standards. Yeah. I'm sure that would be impacted by that as well.
I'm conscious we do have a program anyway that does exactly what you want, councillor.
Okay, so can we have it referenced in G, please?
Yep.
And with that program, is it all the roundabouts in the LGA? How does it work?
I'll have to take that on notice, and I'm happy to come back to councillors with a briefing on that. I have to confess I wasn't aware we had a standing resolution on roundabout renewal, so you learn something new every council meeting, and we'll come back to you on that one. Yep.
Okay. So the intention for this, with this, is just to turn, make Liverpool a little bit more colourful, and anything that can basically be planted, anywhere where we can plant plants, it should be done.
Can I just put something in the mix just for the sake of history? We went down this path in the 90s and we actually planted out a lot of our roundabouts, and they looked beautiful, but nobody could read any of the signage. The plants took over the signage, so it has to be suitable planting, obviously.
Sure, within reason. Like I was just thinking those low creepers, No,
but I'm just saying that's what happened. Okay, I think, yes, Councillor Haggerty.
Just because I like being helpful, we did a bit of a put dots on a map thing with the trees at the strategic planning day. Was that shared to councillors who weren't there? Because I'm sure Councillor Ayad would like to. Yeah, all right, well, yeah. All right.
Okay, any opposition? I'm going to put it, those in favour, those against, carried.
Mayor, can I move forward EGRO 05, please, given we have people here waiting for it and we totally forgot about them. Well, I did anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, which page is that on?
It's in the addendum.
Oh, God. You could do it on there. I've used the tape on.
That's right. Just did that last. I'll do. Tim or David can answer all the questions.
Okay. I'm happy to move that forward. Councillor?
Thank you, Mayor. Can I ask some questions if it's moved forward?
Yes, certainly. It's
Thank you.
tab 1 and page 3 of that document, councillors.
In relation to, and if I can, there's really, I mean, this covers the whole LGA, I understand that. But there's really 3 areas where, how can I be nice about this, where we have a lot of residents that are really interested in this document. So rural, Moorebank and Warwick Farm. Is there a big cost to do a direct mail out to those areas, just off someone's top of their head, to let them know that this is out there so we don't fall...
We're doing that.
Direct?
Yep,
like
yep.
The whole...
We're doing a mail out across the whole council areas to advise them that this is on public exhibition.
Direct mail out, not included with any other document, not tucked away in the rates with a little paragraph.
No, it's definitely there's multiple points. Mrs. Smith, can you detail it?
So the draft in the addendum booklet, we've attached the engagement action plan, which outlines what we're expecting to do. What we're looking at doing is, for those where we can, a flyer, as we did for the draft, to get community input. For those that we cannot do flyer delivery, direct mail. So most of the rural area we can't do flyer delivery, so we're going to do direct mail. But of course, it's up to council to determine what level of engagement they'd like to do on the draft.
So we're, sorry, just so I'm clear here, we're not doing a direct mail out to everyone then, as just...
No, but we can. It's okay. the only impact is a financial impact. But we can certainly do it.
All right, so I'll keep going with some questions, but the suggestion in the motion that I'll move if I get the opportunity to will be that we do a direct mail out to Moorebank, Rural and Warwick Farm. Well, Warwick, yeah, that's happening, but just to make it clear. In relation to page mission, where is it? Statement of commitment. On page 16, I believe first response we got was that my understanding was of recent time this was negotiated. The second time I asked about it, it was of recent time, my understanding. and then an email came through saying this was something from the year 2000, then updated in 2011. So was there anything of recent time?
Yes, yes. It has been negotiated with the Thurrock Land Council in 2017 around recommitting to it, whether they wish to recommit to it, and negotiations with the Gandangara Council is ongoing. So the document that was, this statement, which was adopted by Council in 2000, which was not something I was aware of, Councillor, I was only aware of the 2017 negotiation at that point in time, was adopted in 2000, and the negotiation with the two relevant land councils has been occurring since 2017.
All right, just my understanding from those two meetings was in the last few, or the way I read it, in the last few months, this is something that we negotiated with them until your email came through.
It's still an active negotiation with Gandangara. Thurrock have signed off on it, but
All
it's
right.
active with
Again,
Gandangara.
then, just so Council's clear, if I do get the opportunity to move a motion, I'll be asking that that be removed, that we do acknowledge our First People. I have no issue with that. And then maybe that replaced with a more inclusive, multicultural statement of commitment instead of just the, of just that. So that'll be point 4 if I get the opportunity. Now, if we go to Warwick Farm. Oh, actually, question. All these people that are pictured in this, all these children that are pictured in this and in this document, do we have release forms from all those people?
Mr Stevenson, we have release forms for all the images, yes.
Every image in there has a release form?
The ones with children in it, yes, definitely.
Yep, okay. Be clear on that. All right, Warwick Farm. There's now 2 colours. There's a red colour and a black colour. And that's what they are in the book, so nobody jump up and say red, white, black, whatever it is. Is there an issue with making it, given that we're going out to consultation, given there's a standing resolution that says pretty much R4, mixed use, does it cause us too much grief to make it all red so that we genuinely consult with the community in Warwick Farm and genuinely let them have an input instead of saying black is reserved for your training precinct or to enhance it? Leave it all the one colour, have our forums as we discussed, get the input properly, and then come back and make a sound decision.
There's no issue with doing that, councillors. It's entirely for you to determine. Noting that this is just going on public exhibition, it needs to return to you prior to it going to Greater Sydney Commission and DPIE.
Thanks, and I take it on.
Can I just ask a question there?
Yes, Councillor.
Councillor Chidi said R4, mixed business?
Mixed use.
Mixed use?
Mix
so
of uses.
Forget the R4, we're talking about mixed use. Is that right?
Yeah, we're talking about the red that's in the book at the moment.
Yeah, the red. Mixed use.
Mix of uses, yes. Yep. Now I've lost my train of thought. Councillor Rhodes, thank you. So that'll be the other point. Yes, the sewer contours or the sewer odour. And I do apologise, but I think I've got 3 different, or it's come across 3 different ways. First was no mention of it. Let's just... or there may have been a mention. Second was we cannot develop with that odour contour there. And then at the last briefing session was it's not prohibited, as in residential, but it needs to be referred to Sydney Water. Can I just ask, is it prohibited? Can it happen? Are there measures that can be put in place, or is it just a straight out no?
Mr Moore?
Through you, CEO. No, it's not prohibited. The third understanding you have is correct. It has to be referred, and what we understand is that Sydney Water will not support residential there, but it's not statutorily prohibited to build residential there.
All right. Sorry, after that briefing session, did we go to them and ask them for that in writing like was requested?
No, we'll do that as part of the exhibition process.
Okay, can I move unless anyone, I'd rather just move one motion if anyone's got any other input. Yep. All right, so let me go back to it now. So number 1 then, for a period of 6 weeks with the following changes. A direct mail-out notification be sent to residents of Moorebank, Warwick Farm. Do you want me to include rural, or is that a given?
You may as well include it just so it's on the record.
and the rural areas of the LGA. The statement of commitment be replaced with amended with a statement that includes the diversity of this area. The black outline, are we ready for the next one? Yeah, the black outline in the Warwick Farm precinct be changed to red. What else did I go on about? That was it.
Thank you. Do we have a
Seconded.
seconder?
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor. Did second it. He beat you to it. Sorry, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Haggerty, you're shaking your head and lights on.
Yes. I happy with 2 and 3. Oh, 2 and 3. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I understand the intent of the direct mail out. I just don't. I don't like picking winners. Yes, there have been issues in Moorebank. Yes, there have been issues in Warwick Farm. Yes, there have been issues in the rural area. There have also been issues previously in Horningsea Park around what level of industrial is built across the road there. There are currently issues in Edmondson Park about the scale of development in the town centre north that Landcom are putting together. I expect there to be some future issues around the redevelopment around the Miller Town Centre. I expect, why are we picking these particular suburbs? I guess let's just mail the whole. I was going to say a sweary, but let's direct mail the whole LGA.
I'll take that on board, Mayor.
Thank you. So that number 1 becomes the all residents. Yep. All right. Thank you. Thank you. There's some interesting noise going on behind us if we look a bit distracted. I apologise to the audience. I think we will have to get security to go and have a look. They're going now. Okay, thank you. All right then. Any opposition to the motion that's been put? I'll put it. Those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. No, one less. Councillor Shelton isn't unanimous, but thank you. All right. Thank you very much. What is the time? Okay, 7:04, it's a bit early. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is on page 135.
Move that way, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, they do, so we'll just wait a minute.
I have some questions, Madam Mayor.
Yes, hold on a moment, Councillor. Would someone like to second this?
I will second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Cundy beat you to it. That's all right. I'll just wait till Councillor Rhodes isn't seenable. She's not allowed to be seenable. She's gone. Okay, who had some questions? Councillor Howard.
Madam Mayor. Yeah, just in regards to the New South Wales Barefoot Water Ski Club, can someone please clarify for me what it is exactly they do? What is the barefoot water skiing? Is it actually skiing on the water barefoot in your swimmers?
Spot on, Councillor.
Okay, so there's a possibility they fall in the water.
Yeah.
There's a possibility they swallow the water. There's a possibility water goes into their eyes, up their nostrils.
Question, Councillor, not debate.
Is it safe for them to be skiing on the Georges River in Liverpool? Because my understanding is that all the reports that have come before councillors say that the water isn't safe.
Councillor, I can answer that question for you, but I'm not going to. Councillor,
The water quality is different depending on the type of immersion that you undertake. So we have actually researched this because I don't want to have the liability. So the type of quick dip that you might end up in the water if you were a barefoot skier is deemed an acceptable level. However, if you were swimming in it or if you were dunking your face in it for a longer period of time, it's deemed unacceptable. Mr. Sengowski, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. Any other speakers? Yes, Councillor Haggerty.
I note that we got an email during the week regarding a what is it? A thing called Kaching about an anti-gambling documentary. Would this be the appropriate time to perhaps make a contribution? No? Yes? I'm just...
So your question is if you wish to make a grant contribution to a particular project? Yes, council can determine to make a grant at any time. If you did make a grant through this process because it hasn't gone through the regular process and it's not subject to one of our advertised grant programs under Section 356 of the Local Government Act, we would be required to advertise it for 28 days. So you could approve it as a council, put it on public exhibition for 28 days, delegate to me should we get no submissions back to then finalise the grant. We undertook a similar thing recently when we gave the church grant funding outside of the regular round of programs.
So, Councillor, if you have something, you probably need to add it with the mover and the seconders.
I'll put something in the middle-ish. So if they're happy to accept it, that council's grant team contact the Kaching people to see if there are suitable grants available.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor.
I have another question.
Certainly.
It's once again in regards to the Barefoot Water Ski Club. So the CEO mentioned that it depends on the level of immersion. But I recall that the Mandaean community wasn't given an approval or any support from Liverpool Local Council to do their baptisms, and the baptisms are quite similar. They're only immersed in the water for a second, so isn't that contradictory?
Councillor, I asked the CEO to... We've been... Unfortunately, Councillor, we've had reports on this at briefings, and it is a bit more serious than what you're saying, but I'll ask the CEO to reply.
All the advice we have received about the water quality says that the type of occasional immersion you get from the barefoot skiers is acceptable level of risk, while as the Mandaean community with a full face in it is considered an unacceptable level of risk. I'm happy to go back and reventilate that research, though. I have no issue with that. It's around protecting public health, not anything else, Councillor.
Through the CEO, or through the chair, sorry. Look, to me it seems like it's exactly the same thing. If you're in the water, you're in the water. If you're in there for a second, whether it's a baptism or you're falling off a water ski, it seems to be the exact same thing. So in light of that information, I'd like to move a foreshadowed, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes, certainly. We'll move this motion first then. Those in favour? This is the... Well, you're supposed to have... Wait for the first motion to be decided. What is the essence of your motion?
So my motion would be to support everything in here, minus the Barefoot Water Ski Club, so that to be deferred until we get more information.
Councillor, I have to say from the chair that there's been a lot of information about this matter before this council for the last 3 years. I have to be honest, but it's a matter for council. Thank you for sharing your foreshadowed motion with us.
Madam Mayor, just for a report on the water quality, and
there are reports already available,
and more information regarding the immersion, because
Councillor,
I think this is quite prejudice towards the Mandaean community.
Point of order.
Thank you. Councillor, you retract that. This council is not prejudiced against anybody. Please watch your words. Now, I'm going to put the motion. Those in favour? Those against, declare it carried. The foreshadowed motion fails. Can you ask Councillor, who's missing? Councillor Rhodes back, please. And can we please supply to Councillor Aird all the reports regarding the water studies that have been done, please?
Just in relation to that, Madam Mayor, one of the reports before drew a distinction between the celebrants, who actually spend a long period of time immersed in the water, as opposed to the individual devotees who are in or out, and those celebrants who might spend hours actually carrying out. And that's where the report, because I saw this report some years ago, drew the distinction.
But also, too, for the public's information, there is quite a deal of information about this.
And how long does water skiing take?
These are usually competitions. We have one of the most sought after international sites and statewide sites for I've got to be careful how I say this, barefoot water skiing. I keep thinking of something else, but I won't say it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is page 145.
Madam Mayor, I move the motion in the book just with the following additional words.
Yes, Councillor.
So it goes, the Council receives and notes the future demands for early childhood services in Liverpool report and continues to forward plan in accordance with the comments in this business item, full stop.
Okay, we've got a seconder?
Yes. Seconded.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillors. I'll say Councillor Hadid. I get the call, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, so is there any opposition? I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, carried. Next item's on page 150.
Move that way. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Second, Madam Mayor.
That was Councillor Caliendo. Any opposition? I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, carried. Next item's page 160.
Move that way.
Oh, I'll second that. Mayor, I was going to move another motion, given no one was going to move a motion.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggerty and seconded by Councillor Chitty. I'll put it. Any opposition? I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, carried.
Was that unanimous,
Unanimous?
Mayor?
Yeah.
I'll say unanimous and wait for people to say no. Unanimous? Okay, great. Thank you, guys. We'll have a 5-minute break. 5 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Next item is on page 163.
I'd like to move that with a slight amendment.
Yes, Councillor. Well, you're moving a motion. What is your motion, Councillor?
The motion is that, as per the book, the Council receives and notes the report, also noting that further actions contributed at the strategic planning meeting on the 20th of May be considered in the activation of the Georges River.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor
I'll
Hall.
second that, Madam.
Madam Mayor,
Thank
are
you.
we doing activating the Georges River?
Yes, we are. We just
Sorry,
had a
Madam Mayor, I
motion.
had a motion for that, which I've already passed to the type.
Well, Councillor Rhodes actually just put up a motion, so
Okay,
yours will
yeah.
technically become a foreshadowed one. Okay, so do you wish to talk to your motion, Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just quite simply, you know, there is a lot of work to be done and there has been a lot of contribution by council's laws as of late in ideas of how to further activate the Georges River. And many of those ideas were put forward at the strategic planning meeting by those councillors who did attend. And a lot of those ideas were very, very good that I have not heard before. And I think that council would be doing the best by Liverpool to make sure that those ideas that were contributed are to be considered in the 20th of May, from the 20th of May strategic planning meeting.
Okay, thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak to the motion? No. You're right. Any opposition? Does anybody who wish to speak against the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councillor.
would it be possible for the councillors to see the motion that I have drafted? Because I think that there are some things that maybe we could include in this motion, if that's okay.
You're not supposed to, but yeah, look, if it's got it, given it to the typist, we could just put it up. Just so councillors are aware, there's a foreshadowed motion.
So in light of what Councillor wrote, the discussion that has just taken place, I don't think 8 is useful anymore.
So delete
because
8?
this is because it's already been done. But then the outcomes of that strategic panel to be given to this new body of stakeholders.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
All right. Yep. So that is the foreshadowed motion. Thank you. Do you wish to speak against the motion as moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Hull?
No, I don't, Madam Mayor, but it is my hope that they'll incorporate some of my motion into their motion or vice versa.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, it's up to the mover and the seconder. Councillor?
I'm going to be constructive.
Sounds good.
For a change, yep. Point of order.
I'm going to have a point of order on you, Councillor. That's enough, everybody. Come on.
I pride myself on my constructiveness. That perhaps we incorporate into Councillor Rhodes's motion that we, I'm going to regret saying this, that we have a Georges River Committee. That a council come back in 3 months with an idea for a Georges River Committee.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes?
We've got the Georges River combinedy thing.
Yes, there is there already. The
Like a
Councillor
local
Shelton's our representative on that one.
And Councillor Hall.
No, I withdraw.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, there is too much going on here, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rhodes, you have the floor. It's your motion. Do you wish to speak to
I
it?
missed entirely what Councillor Haggerty said.
Councillor Haggerty was talking about possibly having a Georges River Committee, but conceded there is already one, and that comprises of several councils that meet on a regular basis and look at the total health of the river. Yeah, because it just doesn't go through one LGA. It goes through several.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
If
Councillor.
I may, I just want to clarify that when I use the word stakeholders, I'm actually referencing who manages the Georges River on page 164 and 165 in the agenda. So our council, Georges River Keeper, Sydney Water, and other local councils and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
So the intention of this is to basically get them in a room
Hold on,
together.
Councillor. You're speaking to your debate.
Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We're not up to you yet. So, councillors, you have a motion before you as moved by Councillor Rhodes and Councillor Hull. And it's before you. Could we move the foreshadowed down, please? So we've got the other motion or down. It has to disappear. It's foreshadowed. I'll get there in a minute. Thank you. Okay, so any speakers against the motion or for the motion? Councillor, you're the mover of the motion. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Rhodes?
Madam Mayor, if I may just ask a question about the foreshadow motion.
Sure.
We already have participation with the Georges River Keeper.
Yes, Councillor.
And I was of the understanding that that particular body was the body that facilitated the things very similar to what Councillor Ayad has put into her foreshadow motion. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is part of the reason why Councillor Haggerty withdrew his suggestion.
And I missed what Councillor Haggerty...
He just suggested that we formulate a committee, and then he said, no, hold on a minute, we've already got it.
One.
It works. And Councillor Sheldon, you're the representative on that committee, are you not?
Yes, the Councillor Hull and myself sit on that committee regularly.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Councillor Rhodes, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Can I reread Councillor Ayad's foreshadow motion?
As a matter of courtesy, yes, but you're supposed to wait for the decision of your motion first, but go ahead.
No, I think that the motion that I'm reading, it has already been covered by past resolutions of council.
That is true, yes.
I'm going to leave mine as is. Okay, thank you.
You don't.
I just note as a point of clarification, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Sheldon, you're asking a question?
No, just making a note.
You're making a note?
Doesn't include private landowners, and Councillor Ayad's motion does include private landowners, so there'd be a fairly substantial difference in the composition.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Mayor,
you.
if I could clarify, I think there's
No, not yet.
some
Hold your thoughts. Not yet.
but just in regards to those comments, because
No.
everyone's referencing the Georges River Keeper. It's not just the Georges River Keeper.
Councillor, are you listening? You have a foreshadowed motion. It is not being dealt with as yet. We're dealing with the motion. If this motion gets defeated, then you most certainly have the floor. So you can speak against this motion if you so wish.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Go for
I'd like
it.
to speak
Thank
against
you.
it. Okay. So the reason I want to speak against them... Sorry, can I just have the motion before me? Sorry.
It's the one in the book on page 163 with an added piece.
Yep, I just had to reread it. Sorry, which is the added one?
The council receives and notes this report, noting that further actions stating the strategic planning meeting are to be considered in the activation of the river. That's the added piece.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel that with reference to this, it's a little bit short-sighted. Because as other things have come to us before in council and, you know, they have committees, for example, like the Georges River, and I for one feel that nothing has happened. Yes, the committee might be meeting objectives and meeting and talking, but I don't see any action. And I'm quite ashamed of the state of the Georges River at the moment. Could we have that photo displayed, please? So this is a photograph that I took of the Georges River just a couple of days ago. It actually looks like a parkland. I don't see any water.
Point of order, are we allowed to put pictures up on the screen? When was this added to the code of meeting practice?
Well, Councillor,
I'll start
I'm
bringing
going to allow it in
slideshows.
this instance, but I will ask for some comment from council officers who would understand what we're looking at.
And I'll start this, and I might flick to Mr Zangoski, because I actually asked the same question myself, Councillor, about the level of weed that is currently on the Georges River. The issue is that the weed grows in the freshwater area when there is no movement of water due to the lack of rain that we've experienced up to the last really couple of days. There has been significant weed growth. We're attempting to work with the water owners to manage that through biological control. What happens when there is some rain is that the water rushes over the weir. The weed then makes contact with the salt water, which then kills it off. So that's the natural process. But we are conscious that it is an issue, and we're working for some control of it. It's a natural occurring weed, and it naturally occurs during times of drought, like we've been experiencing now too. Did I miss anything there? No.
Thank you. I
Just
haven't.
question.
Can I just continue? Sorry, Councillor Hadid. I've never seen anything like this in Oatley, Kangaroo Point, Connells Point. These are all areas that are on the Georges River, and this kind of stuff doesn't happen. So I think it's fair to say that the committee has been quite unsuccessful, and I urge councillors to really think this through and think about the second motion that I've put forward, and I'm open to constructing a better motion with your input, hopefully.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the mover want the... Councillor Haggerty, are you speaking for the motion?
Yes, I'm speaking for the motion. I acknowledge Councillor Ayad's points. I did a little bit of investigate. Like, we've all seen it. It looks weird. I think for the most part it's all gone. I was down at the Adventure Playground on Sunday. Amazing facilities. Should all try it out if you haven't. But I think for the most part it's gone. I was speaking to someone at Cumberland Council. They get that weed in a lake at Pemulwuy, and then they borrow a machine off Hawkesbury River Council, which eats it up. So it is common across waterways, but you can either eat it up or, if it's a lake, but if it's a running river, then you let it flow into the salt water and it ends up dying. So I agree, it does look bad, but it's sort of a naturally resolving issue.
Okay, thank you.
Well, just a question.
Yes, Councillor Hadid, what's your question?
Yeah, well, thanks, Madam Mayor. Well, the photo we have seen just a few seconds ago, is the current photo or old photo, or what is it?
It's a new photo.
It's current. I took it a couple of days ago.
So if that's a new photo,
Yeah.
how we just approve the barefoot ski?
Yeah, they're further down.
And there would have to be
And the whole, it's at different times of the year. They're not doing it now because it's winter. Okay, thank you, councillors. Councillor Rhodes, do you want your right of reply?
No, Madam Mayor, I think that we've considered it enough. We're okay.
Madam Mayor, if you don't mind, can I just make one more comment?
No, you can't, Councillor. Sorry, the debate is closed.
It's actually your words, Madam Mayor.
Councillor, the debate
quoted
is
right here.
closed, and the councillor who moved the motion has declined in her right of reply. I am now going to put the motion. If it is successful, the motion goes forward. If it doesn't, your motion comes forward. Those in favour of the motion moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Howard, please raise your hands. The motion is won. The foreshadowed motion doesn't go forward. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is page 176.
Happy to move them as a whole, Madam Mayor.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. Any opposition?
Just a question, though. It is about, there is the traffic in there as well. Committee, yes. Whilst not on the actual agenda, but it is a traffic-related matter, the roundabout that was requested to be removed down in the Mill Road precinct, how's that going?
Ms. Uafik, can you advise on the roundabout at
Sorry,
Mill Road?
it's probably directed more to the Director of Planning, because I believe it's a formal application that Councillor Haggerty asked about previously that
Ms.
you've
Moore?
responded to.
Yeah.
They're going to take it on notice, councillor, and get back to you with that information.
I do have a question, actually.
Yes, councillor Haggerty.
I'm mindful of the time, but it's gone. I've gone blank.
Going,
It's
councillor.
related to traffic. I've gone blank.
All right, you'll have to ask the staff after the meeting. I'm going to put it, those in favour, those against, carried. Next item is questions with notice.
Thank you for the response. I suppose my question rising from this is, next hot season, are we going to have a aeroplane on standby, or be able to, once all these meetings have happened, to then fly over and spray all these mosquitoes? Because I think that's the end result I was hoping to be at.
I'll ask Mr. Patterson to respond to that.
Yes, through you, CEO. At this stage, we're still working that through. It depends on the process with the other key stakeholders. So at this stage, it's still a matter that's to be decided. But at this stage, aerial spraying is probably unlikely. The reports coming back is that the most likely method would be hand spraying of the chemical BTI.
Sorry, just further that, if I may, through you, Chair. When do we expect to have something more back once you've had all your meetings? As to an action plan.
Yeah, our intention is to complete that around the end of August. Is that correct, Mr Patterson?
Yes, the mosquito management plan is currently being worked through, and it's expected that we should have a draft by the end of August. The key thing here is that we've got to bring all the key stakeholders together for a regional approach. At this point, though, regardless of that, we will still keep forging ahead with a Liverpool LGA approach, and it is hoped that through the meetings we'll have a joint regional agreed approach moving forward.
Thank you. The next one is also in your name, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the update. Since writing, are there any further updates?
Mr Moore?
Through you, CEO. In relation to the coronation VPA,
yeah, okay, you can spell out whatever one you want. I'm just asking in general.
Yeah, that's the only one that I have a further update for you, and I guess you could say it's no further update because the update is the letter that was sent to all councillors last Friday, which informed the certifier of their obligations in respect of issuing occupation certificates and the voluntary planning agreement. So, but there are no further updates to that.
Sorry, just given that you've mentioned that letter, yes, and thank you, we saw that. Any response to that letter?
No, there hasn't been to date.
Okay.
So then, sorry.
No, keep going.
And given that you've raised, I wasn't going to raise anything, but given that you have, what's the course of action if any of these planning proposed, or any of these, at what stage does council stop sending letters and do something with any of these planning proposals, given that it's told people what their obligations are? Is it when it's the belief that things aren't going to happen? Is it beforehand? After the fact's probably too late? I'm not sure how all this works, but when do we stop sending letters and take action should it be required, if it be required?
Through you, CEO.
Can I just stop this for a second? I'm conscious we're moving into a possibly confidential area in regards we've singled out a particular development. No, but one has been named. My recommendation as the chair is to move this particular item and also possibly question 05 into closed session for the reasons of debate because of legal ramifications of the discussion. So I would move as the chair that we deal with question 2 and question 5 in closed session. And that way I think everybody's protected from anything that may or may not fall out of that. So that will be what I will do. Those in favour, those against, carried. Thank you. Next item's on page 229. Councillor Haggerty.
Yes, happy to await an answer, and may the wheels on the bus continue to go around and around.
Thank you. The next item is on page 233. Councillor Haggerty.
Oh, I can't think of a truck nursery rhyme. Yep, same.
What, the ladies knitting on that bus? Anyway, keep going. 3, page 8.
Yeah, happy to wait for an answer on that one.
All right, thank you. Next item's in your addendum booklet, and it's page 188.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor.
Could I have you included presentations by councillors, or you skipped?
It's just after this item. Page 188.
Can I move a motion, Mayor?
What is your motion, Councillor?
That council notes this report.
Okay. Any opposition?
I haven't caught up yet. Hold on.
Okay. Any opposition? I'm going to put it. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. And the next item is presentations by councillors.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I have an item that may be of interest, and I'm happy to read it so I don't get too confused with the facts.
Okay.
The Mayor and several councillors and I attended the National Local Government Association conference held in Canberra between the 15th and the 19th of June. The conference purpose is to represent local government areas and councils from all over Australia to lobby the federal government for support in addressing issues relevant to local councils. To some extent, it is like our local government conference, which is scheduled for later this year and to be held at the William Inglis Conference Centre at Warwick Farm, where it is aimed at the state government for support on issues raised by local government, that is, councils. As a councillor, I found the conference very informative as it gave me an opportunity to appreciate the concerns and issues that affect councils across Australia, not just New South Wales. Of interest to me was a highly informative session on the increasing problems of waste disposal, waste recycling, and state government's levy on waste disposal in landfill that councils want returned to them in exchange for projects that reduced waste going to landfill. The topic generated considerable debate. Unfortunately, I was less impressed with the lack of information regarding the millions of tonnes of combustible waste that goes to landfill every week, and in particular, plastics that are currently not easy to recycle and take up huge areas of valuable storage space. I'm referring to plastics that range between 2 and 7 on the scale within the recycle triangle, with 7 being extremely difficult to recycle, if ever. PET plastics, such as drink containers, rate a 1 and are the most valuable and easily returned into similar products, including clothes. I had asked questions relating to the progress of waste-to-energy incinerators that produce cheap electricity for community use, as is done in many countries throughout the world, with few negative effects on the planet and arguably on global warming or climate change. The response was that Western Australia has a 17 megawatt unit that has been approved and is currently in the construction phase. It will produce enough electricity to power around 21,000 homes, with another plant under evaluation. Due to the extremely high operating temperature, which is around 1800 degrees Celsius, and a waste reduction of 20 to 1, few, if any, toxic materials are produced. Extremely effective filter systems remove any that may be produced. The ash is used for road construction and building materials, while the heat produces steam, driving a turbine generator alternator to produce the electricity. The waste heat may also be used to heat land for agricultural purposes and/or community uses, such as swimming pool nearby. Some of the exhaust there, which is super clean and mainly carbon dioxide, may be directed into greenhouses for food for rapid plant growth. The points of interest are that these waste-to-energy incinerators would eliminate the problem of disposing single-use plastics ending up in the environment. At present, it is uneconomical to recycle most plastics, and so they are either stored for much later use or are buried in landfill and remain there for thousands of years. Since plastics are basically a product of oil and coal, would it not be better to incinerate these now and use the energy stored to produce electricity rather than bury it and pollute the environment for who knows how long? Modern waste-to-energy incinerators are far better alternatives to landfill, with more than 170 in use around the world. It is a dilemma all councils currently face, but who will take positive steps to address it? Thank you.
Thank you for your very comprehensive response.
May I have I'll make it a quick presentation.
Yes?
Yes, on Saturday, yourself, myself, Councillor Shelton, Councillor Caliander, the member for Warrawah Anne Stanley, and former Councillor Alf Vella attended the 60th anniversary dinner of the, let me get their name right, their correct name, the Liverpool Historic Society.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lovely lunch, and let's hope we see them around for another 60 years. A fantastic
I
organisation.
thought you were going to say you'll see us all there at the next 60th.
I hope not.
No, it was definitely a good day. Thank you very much, councillors.
Madam Mayor, may I make... Oh, sorry.
Yes, Councillor Ayard. Was it you or was it Councillor?
me.
Oh, sorry, the other ladies. Sorry, Councillor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Over the June long weekend, I had the privilege of being invited along to the Pac Australian Cultural Society of South West Sydney for their Eid function. They were very grateful to council for the ease in accessing the council facilities, as well as the ability to hold the function within the Liverpool LGA. So they asked that I communicate their thanks to all of council and council staff.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's nice to get some positive feedback. Okay, anybody else?
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I may. This has just come up this evening. It's a... Councillors, their job is to represent the community and the people that have elected us in as councillors. And I've been asked to present to the CEO a petition that they've been trying to get to this council. It's in the matter of Phillips Park, and I would like to be given the opportunity to approach the CEO.
Petition can be presented to the council. There's no drama with that.
Can I bring it up?
Yeah, just bring it up and leave it here. Thank you, councillor. All right, the next items, we move into confidential items.
Conf 01, can I move a motion when you're ready, Mayor?
Yeah, move your motion, councillor.
Oh, but I can't actually move it in open. Well, one as the book.
Yep.
One becomes that, which is probably the confidential bit.
Yep.
But 2 I don't think is confidential, so I'll move it in open.
2.
Which I'll put the point 2 in. Amongst other members, re-endorse all former mayors and councillors of Liverpool City Council.
Oh, second it.
Move per the book.
Okay, so foreshadowed. So Councillor Hachidi's motion is as per the resolution before you for the additional membership, plus all former mayors and councillors. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I think it's pretty straightforward. Go on.
I think Councillor Haggerty wants to talk.
Do you wish to talk, Councillor?
I'd just like to foreshadow a motion as per the book.
Yeah, you said that. I got it.
Just making sure we got it.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, but it has to get through the first one first. Okay, Councillor Harle, are you going to speak or are you going to sit in the glow? Thank you. It's okay. All right, I'm going to put the motion as moved by Councillor Hachidi and seconded by Councillor Rhodes.
Councillor Dunning needs to know that he's voting on something here.
Pardon?
He's just distracted.
Okay, thank you for chairing the meeting, councillors. I'm going to put the motion, as I said, that's been moved by Councillor Haggerty and Councillor Hachidi and seconded by Councillor Rhodes. Those in favour, please raise your hands. Those against, I see that motion as 1. The next item is on page 646. Does someone need to go and get Councillor Ayard?
No, keep going.
Oh, has she left? Has she?
Mr Knight, she left.
Has Councillor Ayard left the meeting?
I think she did, Madam.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Council.
Mr Patterson, can you just go up and check for me whether she's just there?
Well, she's gone? Yep, okay, thank you. The next item is on page 646.
Mayor, I'm just going to move to receive and note this report and see what happens.
I would suggest you move this into confidential, please, because I think there needs to be some debate on it, Councillor.
I'll move the recommendation in the book, Mayor.
I'd like to move that it go into confidential because I've got a motion.
Have you?
Confo too?
Yes. Okay. All right. All right. I'll just circle that one. I'll put it. Those in favour, those against. Carried. Right. There's 3 in there. Okay. Next one's on page 658.
Move that way.
Seconded. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Opposition? None. I'll put it. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. And at this point, we close the meeting to consider items in confidential under section 10, part 2, that there will be legal issues and other matters raised of personal nature. Thank you. Session. We are now back into open session. Question 02 was as per the book with an extra item that council will be bringing back a further report to councillors. Question 5, there was a verbal response given, but there will be a written response at a future date. And also the issue of Con 02 is as per the book, I hope. Bear with me, I've got to read that out. Gosh. Now that was, hold on a moment. Was it the book?
Which one?
Yeah. The council, in relation to 1 Brown Parade, Warwick Farm, also known as 34 to 40 Hume Highway, Warwick Farm, notes the inspection report by fire rescue as shown as attachments. B, exercises its power of issue under the safety order as recommended. 2, in relation to 14 Home Pride Avenue, Warwick Farm, notes the inspection report by fire and rescue as shown as attachment 2. And B, exercises its power and issues of fire safety order as recommended by Council's Fire Safety Office to address the identified safety deficiencies. 3, write to the relevant state ministers to lobby for similar legislation regarding cladding and other strata issues in Victoria, and that was carried. And I would like to formally close the meeting at this point and invite everybody for end of financial drinks.